Thank you all for coming. If you have any questions, please save them for the end of the speech, or we have a question and answer period. Did you know that just 18 days of sunshine on Earth contains the same amount of energy as is stored in all of the planet's reserves of coal, oil, and natural gas? Eventually, this planet will run out of fossil fuels, and there will be a tremendous need for energy. Solar energy could be the answer to this problem. Today, I will inform you on the history, science behind, and different types of solar cells. First, I'll talk about the history of solar energy, and then the power plants that we use for it today, and then what the effects would be on the planet if we used more solar energy rather than fossil fuels. The heat of the sun has been utilized for the longest amount of time. Through the use of mirrors, the sun was used to start fires as early as the 7th century BC, nearly 2,700 years ago. Buildings were erected facing the sun so that the sun could be used to warm them. In 1767, the first solar collector was created, and it stored the heat to be used to cook a meal at a later date. The photovoltaic effect was discovered in 1839, and the first commercially available photovoltaic cell wasn't until 1959. Basically, the way that a photovoltaic cell works is when the sun hits the surface, there's a charge created, and the charge wants to get to the bottom of the cell. The only path for the charge to go is through a current, and we take the electricity from the current to power household items. The discovery of the photovoltaic generation is the most common form of solar power. It uses the light of the sun rather than the heat of the sun, and it does not use water or any other liquid as steam to turn a turbine. Rooftop solar generation uses photovoltaic cells. However, a rooftop solar generation usually only uses dozens of panels. Large-scale photovoltaic generation uses hundreds, thousands, or sometimes even millions of panels. Large-scale PV generation is more likely to have their panels follow the sun throughout the day. This can raise electricity generation by up to 40%. But one downside to photovoltaic cells is that they cannot store the sun's energy. Another form of solar energy is concentrating solar power, or CSP. It has been used for the longest amount of time, and it uses the heat of the sun rather than the light. Unlike photovoltaic cells, CSP can store the sun's energy because it uses molten salts that can be stored and kept hot for several hours. Parabolic troughs are the most common form of CSP. They are long, curved mirrors that concentrate sunlight onto a liquid in a tube running parallel to the mirror. The liquid in this tube is heated to about 300 degrees Fahrenheit and runs to a central collector where it produces steam that drives an electric turbine. Another kind of CSP is central receiver facilities. They use fields of mirrors to concentrate sunlight on the tops of the central towers. They are also sometimes known as power towers. The intense heat carried by molten salts boils water, and the steam drives on-site generators, just like the parabolic troughs. Parabolic dishes are another form of CSP, although they are not broadly in use. And they work similarly to troughs, except it's a dish. Dishes, however, can produce much higher temperatures and thus have the potential of producing electricity more efficiently. As you can see, there are many different ways to gather solar energy. Some are more effective than others, but all benefit our world. An increased use of solar energy would greatly benefit the environment. Solar energy generates no carbon dioxide or other heat-trapping gases that contribute to climate change. Solar energy produces none of the other harmful emissions or waste associated with coal power, such as mercury, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxides, lead, and arsenic. Another benefit is that solar energy creates none of the long-lasting waste or environmental risks associated with nuclear power. It avoids the environmental risk associated with natural gas, including potential water pollution during extraction. I have informed you about the history of solar energy and the power plants that we use for today, and what the effects would be on the planet if we used more solar energy rather than fossil fuels. I hope that one day we will be able to harness the full amount of solar energy that reaches the Earth, because then we will no longer have a need for the fossil fuels that we rely on so heavily today. Are there any questions?
Right. So if solar energy is so much better than all these other ones, then why don't we stop these other bad ones and just use solar energy?
Because we use fossil fuels for so many things regularly, it'd be fairly difficult to make the switch. And making fields of photovoltaic cells takes a long time because they're kind of heavy. Yes.
To switch from fossil fuels to solar energy wouldn't be impossible, though.
No, and it will probably be necessary in the future. Yes.
Are the pricings to make the solar panels to get the energy, are they more expensive than another energy source?
Well, they used to be a lot more expensive in the past, and the cost has decreased greatly since then, which is why it's becoming more and more affordable if you live in a sunny part of the country to just put solar cells on your roof rather than paying for energy bills. So it's not as expensive as, say, hydrogen fuel cells, but it's not super cheap. Anything else?